2 free throws for 60. A 60-point game for Kobe Bryant. What a performance. What an exit for number 24. You couldn't have written this. 45-50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
Step back. Walker. Cardiac Kimba does it again. UConn wins at the buzzer.
Leading by 3 as Boone hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series. Boone, a hero in Game 7.
Hey everybody, welcome to the third episode of the S.P.I.R.E podcast where we inspire to inspire you. I'm your host Tyrese B, and we have another special guest today. He is a coach and a sports psychologist consultant who has worked with many amateur, collegiate, and past and present professional athletes and coaches. Welcome, Coach Bobby Hallback. How you doing this afternoon, man?
All is well, Mr. Tyrese. Thank you for this opportunity to join you today. I really appreciate it.
Man, glad to have you on, man. Glad to have you on. So let's start this interview from the beginning, man. Where are you from?
I'm from Florida, South Florida, between Lake Okeechobee, around Glaze, the Glaze area, Belglade, Pahokee, Moorhaven, which is called Muck City. You know, very popular for football.
Man, I heard a lot of great football players that come from that area, man. How was it growing up in that environment for you, man?
It was tough, you know, coming from an impoverished neighborhood, limited resources, a lot of gang violence, you know, racism, domestic violence, just growing up in a rough time, you know, but also being humble in the midst of a lot of chaos that was in our surrounding. You know, I grew up with 7 brothers, 3 sisters, and I'm the youngest out of all. So just can imagine, you know, just growing up and watching them grow, and that helped me decide on which pathway I should take, the do's and the don'ts, you know. That's what kept me on a straight pathway. But being exposed to, you know, limited resources, like I said before, and just drug-infested neighborhood, and just stay focused on my goals and dreams, you know, growing up. It was tough. It was challenging. But, you know, I would say that sports kept me more in terms of focus and giving me an outlet to evade and get away from all the traumatic events and drama within the childhood upbringing.
That's understandable, man. A lot of people, you know, go through a rough childhood, you know, but they end up persevering, you know. Do you believe that molded you into the person that you've become today?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I won't change it for the world because it brought me to a full circle of a dedicated young man in terms of being dedicated to the goals and dreams and using sports, and also my experiences as a child, just growing up, watching my older siblings grow up, and watching some of their friends that was always around, and just being exposed to, like I say, drugs and alcohol, domestic violence, racism, you know, that molded me into knowing what I want to do in life and what I should stick to as I was growing up in life.
So let me ask you this. During that time, like you say, even though it was rough, everybody has that point in their life where, you know, they had a favorite time during that stage. So let me ask you, what was your favorite time during that stage of your life? Was it during elementary school, middle school, high school?
I would say from middle school to high school was my favorite time in life. All I done growing up, you know, was just from the age of 6, you know, I started playing basketball and football. So, but middle school and high school was like my favorite time of my life in terms of just being around my friends, just staying in the games, playing the game, watching my older brothers them play sports, just being a big fan of collegiate football, basketball. You know, in the 80s, where, you know, that was more to me, was where I found my gratification to pursue sports. I was a dual athlete, football, basketball. Once I got to middle school and high school, I just focused more on basketball, but also played 2 years of football, high school football. But my dedication started from the age of 6 with sports.
Great. So now that we know the base of your childhood, and now if you mentioned sports, let's talk about your career, man. So you talked about you played basketball, you played football. Which sport did you enjoy more?
I love basketball. Basketball was my first love and passion. You know, I started out from age 6, just coming from an athletic background, football and basketball, but basketball was my number one sport, because I just had that mindset that as in being a basketball player, that nobody can stop me, nobody can guard me, in terms of that. Well, just wasn't able to go beyond high school with basketball due to the recruiting process, being in a private neighborhood, not really having the resources, not being able to play AAU basketball. Coaches wasn't able to get us the funds that we needed to go beyond, to get the exposure, to pursue higher heights in the game of basketball. But just been surrounded by the game, I just fell in love with it. But I did have inspiration to go further within the game of basketball. But that didn't happen due to limited resources and the availability that we had from the county and from the school. Just coming from a small neighborhood, just didn't allow us to go beyond what we could at high school. And I did 2 years of football, high school football. Sophomore year, kind of in between, wasn't quite sure. So, I just left it alone at that moment. Then I came back my junior year and said, let me just go ahead and continue to play and develop as a football player. So I stayed there my junior year, fell in love with it. Then obviously played my senior year, fell in love with it even more, and that's when I decided, like, okay, I will focus on football, knowing that we coming from a saturated area where football was very prevalent, very, very sought out, in terms of getting opportunities with football compared to basketball. So I dedicated my time and energy to football.
Man, it sounds great, man. Sounds great. So you, like you said, that's tough that you couldn't make it to the next level, man. Especially from my area, growing up, we didn't have them. Well, we had a couple AAU teams, but of course we didn't have the money as some of these big places or these big AAU teams and programs that you see nowadays. It's all about going to the biggest school nowadays, just getting your name out there, because those are where the most of the coaches go to recruit you, man.
Exactly. So you're familiar with, being in a small town and how it hurts you as an athlete, because you're not exposed to a lot of recruiting services or big time amateur programs outside of just playing the high school sports, or even starting at elementary. Nowadays they have it where they have organized basketball platform where you can start out at a very young age. And unfortunately, I didn't have that opportunity. Thank God for the opportunity that he gave me to use this platform, based on the experiences that I was able to experience growing up playing, sports, and taking advantage of what I could and what I'm doing today.
Since we're on that subject, let's paint the picture for the listeners. Once you graduated high school, you went to college, you earned your bachelor's degree in sports management and a master's degree in applied psychology. What factors intrigue you to go down this career path?
Just knowing that I was still connected to the game of football and basketball, and I'm a sports fanatic. So, and I was just looking in terms of how can I stay in tune to the game of football and basketball? How could I stay connected with sports itself? So I was just still hunger in terms of like staying motivated and driven to stay involved with sports as either an athlete or coach or administrator. So that's what led me into this pathway of receiving my master's in applied psychology, because I was able to connect from my undergrad as a sports management background to where applied psychology helped me understand that it's more of the mindset to being able to perform as a collegiate player, amateur, or professional player. So that just brought me more in tune to why not be able to talk about my experiences as in growing up from childhood to adulthood and to where I'm at now. How can I help individual understand, like, it's more the mind that drive the motivation, that drive the competitive nature of being an athlete. And I just didn't want to walk away from it. So I just took that concept from being exposed at a young age and just knowing the development of an athlete and what it takes to continue to pursue. And when you get let down, how you going to bounce back? Resilient. So, I've been through a lot of ups and downs, trials and tribulations, growing up as a child, but using sports as an outlet to keep me focused. But at the same time, wasn't avoiding or running away from problems. So the psychological stresses were still there as I continue to develop. So I just felt like, by me going through those personal experiences, why not give it back give back to the community or the community that I'm exposed to, or just reaching out to the world to share my experience and putting the time and energy to become educated, to apply those concepts, not just only to my life, but individuals as a whole.
Oh man, I 100% agree with you on that, man. I think it's pretty cool that you got your master's, man. You know, I'm in college right now, and all I want is my bachelor's. I just want to get out of college, in my opinion. That's all I want.
But I want to say this to you, Mr. Tyree. It's good that you're in the position to receive a degree, because it helps. It helps you climb in life. It helps you be in a better position in life. So, you know, just keep 1 foot forward and keep moving, you know. And I just want to say that, you know, perseverance is the key, and just knowing what you're there for, what's your why in the midst of why you're there, what's your purpose. So just stay connected to the why, you know, just knowing that you're able and you can get through it. Just staying hunger and motivated to drive forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So based on that, you know, for any listeners out there that are thinking about studying psychology, you know, or studying sports management, or studying anything that you studied, what is some advice that you would give to them?
You know, and just speaking as being an athlete, you know, in terms of being an athlete, it comes with dedication, commitment, honesty, trust, self-discipline. You know, you apply those concepts to everything in life that you pursue, you know, and just knowing that, you know, it's all about how you want to approach it. What are you willing to sacrifice? Obviously, you got to sacrifice to move along the pathway of life, you know, and just what you're going to sacrifice in terms of to helping you get to the next level, you know, and just knowing that everything will benefit you once you decide on in your mind what you have to do and what you're applying yourself to do. So just use those principles of what you learn as an athlete, former athlete or a current athlete. What are the core values of you being successful? You know, it comes with dedication, commitment, self-discipline, motivation, you know, time management, sacrificing. So you have to apply those concepts to you as an individual. Nobody can do it for you but you. So you have to be self-determined, self-driven.
And that sounds like some great advice to me, man. I hope the listeners got some of that, man. I hope y'all listening. So now let's transition into your career right now. Like I mentioned before, you're a sports psychology consultant and a mental health therapist as well. Can you tell us the journey of your work throughout your career and where you're at now? How can someone become successful like you in this business?
You know, I started out in this business like 10 years ago as a mental health therapist, as a youth counselor. But I lost my older brother through drugs and alcohol. So I was involved with substance abuse, working at different correction facilities. And I just wanted to know, how can an individual get addicted to drugs, you know, and just going through a personal experience of losing my oldest brother to drugs. That's what led me into this field of like the curiosity of how someone can become addicted to drugs. Not only just drugs, but you can be addicted to anything in life. But I was just intrigued, and I was just like hurt, you know, in terms of losing a brother through drugs and like why he made that choice, you know. And then I just realized, like, you know, in terms of that, like we all have a choice. And sometimes we make choices that can be complicated, and sometimes we make choices to run away from pain and suffering, you know, using drugs and alcohol as a scapegoat to get away from actually face life turns of problems and situations, you know. And that's where I got started into this field of counseling, consulting. Started as a substance abuse therapist, and just continue to evolve from there. And now I'm into more of the mental health of working with older populations, you know, working with severely mental ill clients, you know, for example, schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, you know, those are the clients that I serve in the geriatric population. But I've been exposed to working with amateur athletes that suffer from mental health issues such as anger, depression, oppositional defiant disorder, truancy, behavior disorder. So, you know, just my background, just growing up in childhood, brought me closer to what I do. Just knowing, because it could have been me, you know, and being exposed to environmental stressors also lead to mental health disorders. So that's just a little background of how I got this journey started. And then as it being a sports psychology consultant, just being an athlete, growing up playing sports, knowing that, there are some stressors in playing sports. You worrying about pleasing your family members, pleasing your coaches, pleasing your teammates, not letting your teammates down. And the more I got involved with psychology, applied psychology, I was like, oh, wow, this speaking to me, but more in verbiage terms, like the language are different, but actually going through the experience, it's the psychological distresses that impacts the mindset, and then it's just in terms of how you're going to stay focused, what's your concentration to continue to pursue this path, as an athlete, and not being able to pursue football after I hurt my back, that I had to walk away from. So ending your career, unfortunately, can also impact the mindset of an individual. So I just told myself, hey, you can stay connected to this game. You can stay connected to sports, but just in a different realm,
Well, first, the starters, man, I want to say I'm sorry for your about your brother, man. That's a sad situation, man. It's a
Thank
tough
you.
situation. But I mean, I also want to say, man, I know that he'll be proud that what you're doing, man. You're going out here helping people, getting back to their original selves, persevering, like you said, getting through the tough times, because that's all we can do as a people. Everybody goes through it, but we gotta. Sometimes we might need some help to get through those tough times. So I appreciate what you're doing for the community, man.
Thank you very much. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity to put it out there, in the radio land. I appreciate it.
Now, for sure, man. So what is your main goal for dealing with a client? What mission statements or do you live by, or what do you tell, the people that you're working with?
Well, in terms, I'm gonna break it down in two components, like as a mental health therapist, and also as a sports psychology consultant, I'm big on honesty, and I know honesty can be troubling. Honesty can be hard to disclose, but if you don't be honest, how can you help someone? So my approach is like, let's be honest and let's be upfront, and I'm big on confidentiality. So my focus is to establish a rapport, a therapeutic relationship with the client to where, they feel comfortable and being honest and upfront. Because if you don't give me the key to work with, how can I help you become more healthy in terms of a healthy mindset? So honesty is my first and foremost driving force. So honesty is the key for me,
I 100% agree. It has to be a 50-50 thing, if you're willing to help somebody, they have to be willing to help themselves out too. So you can't help somebody if they're not 100% honest with you,
Right. And that's the thing, like, in all actuality, like, to help someone, you got to be able to want to help yourself, in terms of where you are and where you're trying to go, and what are the roadblocks or mental blocks that's causing you to continue to fall back. In this world today, we all need a helping hand, in terms of where we're trying to go, no matter what level we may be on mentally, physically. It's all about just admitting that you have a problem, and just coming forth and getting the help that you need,
Yeah, that's true. And it's crazy that you say, you said helping hand, because I can vouch for you and say that you're a helping hand for sure. Because on your Instagram page, there's been multiple representatives of people talking about what you do and how good you are at it. From college athletes to NFL and WNBA players, past and present, and more, have seen you seem to be greatly affected, by what you've been telling them. So how does that come about? Do these athletes reach out to you most of the time, or how does that work?
It's a 50-50, some get to me before I get to them. So it's a 50-50. It's just about, once I get out there and they know what I do and they see value in what I do, and they know I'm big on, changing life, impacting life, and helping individuals overcome obstacles, So word of mouth, reference, they come in position with those individuals that already receive my services. So it's a 50-50.
Now, when they reach out to you, is it a one-time thing or is it a consistent basis thing?
It's consistent. They come to me and they retain me, and they pay for the services, and we just continue to build from there. whenever they feel they're ready to, go on their own without having me as a consultant, that's their discretion, But right now they stay connected, and we do weekly services, and some of them I do twice a week, just depending on where they are, mentally.
Right. So let's say you work with an individual, that individual might be on a team or might know somebody of somebody that might be in the same position that they're in. So do you work with teams as well too, or do you use the same approach when you're working with a bigger group?
Yeah, I work with teams. I work with individuals. I work with all sports, and just to clarify that, like, it don't have to be football or basketball, because the mindset goes with each and every game or each and every sport that you play, So I focus on establishing a healthy mindset. So my whole focus as an individual, as a mental health therapist, and also as a sports psychology consultant, I focus on increasing performances by increasing the ultimate mindset, by decreasing psychological factors such as anger, depression, motivation, that interfere in the mindset of being an individual and also being a student athlete or also being a coach. So I work on team building activities also, where you have interpersonal conflicts amongst teammates and coaches. So I find the problems and I work towards building a team report amongst the team and figure out what's going on. So, in terms of functioning as a team, you still have to be healthy as a team to be able to move forward and try to reach a common goal, So it's all about just trying to get players to compromise as a team unit. But individually, you got to be able to stay in tune to what you're doing and what you're trying to do and becoming a team player at the same time.
That sounds like a great job, man. That sounds like something that, a lot of people need, a lot of organizations from, like you said, from amateur to collegiate to professional, there's a lot of personalities on the team. There's a lot of things that different people are going through. So, it's kind of interesting to see that, there's not that many, people that don't have this type of, position, for their franchise, like a mental coach or something like that, to that effect. Cause, as you've seen over the past couple of years, a lot of professional players have came out and talked about how they dealt with depression. For example, Kevin Love talked about how he dealt with his depression, and even just recently, Dak Prescott, talked about how he dealt with his depression. Being the Cowboys, quarterback. So going into that, for any listeners out there that are in a rut mentality, athletes, just regular people, just anybody in general, what advice could you give them to move forward and think positive?
In terms of moving forward and thinking positive, the stigma behind mental health is what's driving people away from receiving help, because they don't want to be frowned upon. They don't want to be joked on. They don't want to feel ashamed. They don't want to feel embarrassed about having mental health issues and coming to the forefront to talk about it. So you got to trust yourself, knowing that you're doing the right thing, because once you open up whatever platform you're on, you're going to impact lives. You're going to change lives. It's about just being comfortable and just understanding that you're not doing anything wrong because you're seeking out help. And in this world today, we got to be able to feel comfortable just finding individuals that you entrust to be able to share those underlying issues. Don't continue to suppressing your feelings. That just continue to build up. And at that point, it can go into a psychotic break. And once you go into a psychotic breakdown, it can be severely devastating. So you just got to be able to understand, like, when you open up, when you decide to open up, it's okay, because you're not the only one out there having those mental health issues.
That's some great advice for sure. Especially, that'll be something I'll have to definitely take with myself going forward for sure. Hopefully, listeners can do that as well. But well, sir, it seems that you got a lot going on for yourself, man. You're doing a lot of things, helping out a lot of people. But I just want to know, what other things do you have planned in the future for yourself?
Like my goal is to be global. Like my plan is to travel international, domestic, as I'm doing now. But my goal is to change life and impact lives, not just only in the sports realm, but also in life itself. So my goal is to just continue to change life, impact life, and and just being able to share my experience and my knowledge, and just continue to grow and be the best that I can be, in terms of being a consultant.
That sounds great, man. I think you would be great at, being a motivational speaker or, having your own nonprofit organization. Have you ever thought about doing something like that?
Well, I'm in the mix of doing that now. I don't like to speak too far in advance, but I'm in the
Right.
mix of bringing things together. Um, my foundation will be For Care of Tomorrow Inc. Because the
Mhm.
4Care is about caring for individuals, not just only myself. So in talking about the future, so 4Care of Tomorrow Inc. is about, looking forward to the next day. And so that's my big vision, being able to care and help others in terms of international and domestically, and just giving individuals the opportunity to endure a healthy lifestyle. No matter what platform you're on, it's all about just giving individual an opportunity to live a healthy lifestyle, mentally and physically, and that's my bread and butter when I'm working with severely ill mental clients. Like, I'm going to meet you where you are in terms of helping you feel good about your stage, your platform, where you are as an individual. How can I help you become your best you where you are mentally and physically?
That sounds great, man. This sounds like some great planning. So, man, I wish you nothing but the best going forward in your future endeavors, man. On that note, we're almost at the end of the episode. Coach, I want to thank you for coming on today, and I want you to take the rest of this time to let the listeners more know about your business and where we can find you on social media, man. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the opportunities for the listeners. I'm here to be a change agent, meaning like I'm here to help you change where you are as an individual, share my experience and my knowledge of what I have endured and what I learned and what I went through in my childhood. And just being grateful for the opportunity to be here. And I can be reached at my Instagram account, Bobby Hallback, and also Gmail account, Bobby Hallback at gmail.com. And then also I can be contacted directly at 561-248-3614. And I just want to leave this message out there. Don't be ashamed of coming to the forefront to get the help that you need. It took me a while to accept the fact that I lost my brother to drugs, and I still deal with that from time to time, but it took courage, to share this information to the world. And I continue to share this information to the world because I know what it can do to you, as in having substance abuse experiences and what it can do to individuals. And I just know it touched home for me. So that's when I decided to make a change and open up and share to the world, like I saw it firsthand, what it can do to you.
And once again, more great words of encouragement, man. It sounds great, man. Y'all definitely go follow him when y'all get the chance. I'll make sure I'll put all of your contact information on the website as well, so he can definitely contact you.
I really appreciate that, and each one support one. So that's a motto that I stand by. Each one support one.
Well, y'all, all good things must come to an end. I want to thank all my listeners out there for supporting the podcast. We've just hit 100 listens, and we'll strive to keep entertaining you guys, man. Don't forget to subscribe and share the podcast, man. A new episode will be dropping in the next 2 weeks, man. Until next time, stay inspired.